What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Tonight we are back in the shop and we're going to be working on the 1979 Cherokee Chief project. So what we are doing tonight is we're going to start working on getting the Dakota digital instrument cluster inside of the Jeep, get all of my wiring hooked up, and we're going to start getting my gauges put in and everything like that. So let me show you first off what I got, what comes in the package. So I went ahead and unboxed everything that I got from Dakota Digital, and let's see, this is the part number that I got. I ordered this through BJ's Off-Road, packed by Geo. Thanks, Geo. Hopefully everything's here. So of course we've got the new display that I'll be putting in right here. I'll go over that. Then I've got the control box. I've got to mount that somewhere underneath the dash. Then of course we've got the wiring. We've got the sensors. We've got some more screws, some more wires, a little bracket, and there's the switch. Alright, looks like everything is here. Okay, so everything that I've read online, this kit is pretty much plug and play. You do have to send in the wires for the the pressure sensors and everything, but for the most part it looks pretty simple. I say this now. Whenever I ordered this, I told them everything that I was running. I'm running the 5.3. I do have the universal wiring kit. I don't have the fuse box mounted up yet. And you might say, wow, it is really a wiring mess under here, and you would be correct. Wiring is one of those things. It is a complete mess until you're all finished, or at least it is when I'm wiring something. So what I'm going to do first is I've got to figure out where I'm going to be mounting this control box. And I will say, so there's near about 4 sets of directions that come with all this, so that's really nice. And it's got the wiring schematics and everything. Very nice. And just a fair warning, I have personally never put in a custom instrument panel like this in a vehicle. So this isn't really going to be a how-to. This is just going to be how I do it. Alright, so I do already have my instrument cluster already ready to take out, and I did go ahead and take out my AC stuff and my heat, all the switches and stuff on the back of that, because I'll be running my switches and everything over there where my ashtray used to be. I've been looking for places to put the control box, and I want it kind of by itself. I've already got my classic Air behind there. I will be running a radio, and then I've got my Holly system. I've got it tucked away right there. So I'm thinking there's some good real estate right here, right behind where the clusters will go. The gauge clusters will go. So I'm thinking I'll be putting the control box for right there. So I'll probably go ahead and put that in. So I've got my control box just loosely mounted right there. So now what I'm going to do is get my new gauges in my gauge cluster. Here is my current one, and you can see it's about had it. So what I'm going to do is I'll turn it around, and it's got some Phillips head screws on the back. I'll start taking these out, and I'm going to keep all my screws. Put all my screws out. So now just carefully take this apart. Alright, take my lenses out like so. So now what I'm going to do is I'll probably take just a little rag and start cleaning some of this old nasty gunk up. Alright, so I've got this thing pretty clean, and the next thing that you're supposed to do is there are little tabs. I hope y'all can see. There's supposed to be a tab right there where it's green, but lucky for me, this is so brittle that they just snapped right off. But you're supposed to level these off. That way the gauges sit flush. So what I'll probably do is just take, what I'll probably do is get a razor blade and kind of go over those just to smooth them up. That way it sits flush. The next thing after you get those tabs off is I'm going to remove the protective film and then place the new gauge cluster inside of here very, very carefully. Very, very carefully. I'll be using a pick to kind of pull this bezel to the side. Oh man. Okay. So now I'll take the provided screws and put these in. I think they're all the same length. They look like it. I'm just going to get them started. All these tight very carefully. It was making a lot of creaks and stuff like that, so I was just trying to be very careful, but that's what the new setup is going to look like. That looks so good. Alright, let's go back to the Jeep. Alright, so here's the new instrument cluster. That looks really good. Alright, so instead of putting switches right here, what I decided to do was put my handheld device for my Holley system right here. And I think it looks alright. I might try to figure out a way to conceal that wire, but it'll work for now. So I've been trying to figure out a good way to get my sensors, like my oil pressure, temperature, stuff like that, that is already monitored by the Holley system, and I don't want to tap into any of my wiring on the Holley system. So what I decided to do was I got the from Dakota Digital, this is what's called the interface module for the Holley system, and what it does is it actually plugs into the Holley system without having to splice into any wires or any sensors like that. So all the sensors will work on my instrument cluster and my Holley system, and I won't have to run extra sensors or anything like that. So that's pretty cool. So now what I'm going to do is start clicking this stuff in. So I've got my, I don't know if y'all can see it, but I've already got that disconnected. What I'm going to do is just plug this end into it and figure out somewhere I'll be mounting this in there. Just excuse all the wiring nightmare of a mess here. But so I've got the new Dakota Digital box right there, and I'm going to be plugging in the Holley system right here on the bottom on the input, just like that. Make sure that's connected. And I've got the Dakota Digital control box just sitting on the floor right here. I'm wanting to do like a dry fitting just to make sure everything's turning on before I finally mount that in. Plus I just want to see what this looks like all turned on. So what I'm going to do now is I've got the display cable plugged in, and I'm going to plug it into the back of my instrument cluster here and see what it looks like. So I got the dash, or I've got the instrument cluster put in, got it plugged up in the back. I've already got my ground wire right there in the bottom, so everything's perfectly labeled. And I've got the auxiliary wire plugged in. Now I've got to get constant power ran to this. Alright, so I have the auxiliary power. So when you turn the switch forward, it gets power. Then I have the constant power and the ground all in. And I did put fuses on these two wires. I got 15 amp fuses. It says in the instructions for, I think it was 5 to 20 amp. And so I just went with 15. I may bump those down to 10, but 15 is what I had. Alright, so if my calculations are correct, this will power on. Hey. It does. Sweet. Alright, it does not look like it, but we are making some progress here. So I have the tack wire coming off of the Holley system into the tack spot on the control box. And then for my fuel gauge, to my fuel pump, or this is from my fuel pump, the red is the signal, so it's the fuel positive. Then the green signal ground, got that grounded out right there. So go focus. So now I'm going to wire in the switch, and I have the switch mounted right here. Perfect little spot for that. And I'm going to be putting it in. So the first slot right here for the switch, just push that in. Then take a little screwdriver, tighten it up. Like so. Give it a little test pull. Alright, then we'll be taking the red one, and it goes right beside it. And then the black, it actually goes right here. So I've got this where I want it for right now. I'm at a good stopping point with it. I need to start figuring out what I'm going to do for my speed sensor. So I'm running a 241 out of a, I think it's a 95 Z71 Chevy truck. And this is the speed sensor for the Holley system. And it obviously is not going to plug into my 241. So I looked around online and I found a company called Michigan Motorsports. And I'll show you what it is. And it is a adapter for 241 to the Holley system. How cool is that? So we'll get that in real quick. So we'll slide up under here and get this plugged in. Just like that. Make sure it's seated. Again, reach up right here. Yep, that's the right one. Hopefully it'll reach. Well, go figure there. This adapter piece isn't long enough to reach. It'll connect, but it's going to be putting these wires in a bind, so I'll be having to make this a little longer. Always something. Alright, so I got this lengthened about 3 or 4 inches, so now I'm going to be putting it in. So I got that plugged into the Holley speed sensor. I'll come right here, get that on. Now we have plenty of wiggle room, and there's not as much stress right here on these 2 wires. Alright, I gotta figure out what to do with this. I need to get these wires up out of the way. Okay. Alright, so it's the next night, and what I'm doing now is I'm working on the turn switch circuits. This is the factory clip that plugs in right here underneath the steering column, and I did happen to luck out and find a whole diagram of this right here. And what's really cool is so far on this universal wiring kit, the wires are the same color coming out of the steering column wiring harness. They're the same colors as these, so that's pretty cool. And what I'm doing is these clips right here, they just push in and just go in just like that. So whenever I'm done, this will just plug right in, and I'll have my wiring for the turn signals hooked up to my fuse box that will be soon mounted underneath the dash. So like I said, 1 wire at a time till it's done. This is a chore, definitely, but I'm definitely making some headway here. So what I'm doing now is on this universal wiring kit that I got from BJ's Off-Road, it does come with a lot of wires that I don't need and that I don't want under my dash. Things such as a power antenna. There's a wire for my fuel gauge, and I've already got that took care of, so I can take those wires out and it'll help clean up underneath the dash in this wiring nightmare that I have right now. So right here you can see I've got my tachometer wire, and then I think that one is the fuel gauge wire. So anyway, I'm gonna keep taking wires out that I don't need, because you definitely don't want too many wires under your dash, because the more wires you have, the more prone to an electrical issue that you're going to have. So anyway, I'm going to get back at it. So what I have done already is that I have taken the wires that will go to the rear of the vehicle and put them in a little wiring shroud right here and sent them towards the rear. And then I did get this all squared away and then put a nice little wire cover on, and I just loosely put them on that way in case I need to pop in and see which color wire, when I'm tracing a wire or something like that, because all these wires are labeled, which is super helpful. Alright, we are back in the shop. It has been a couple of days since I've recorded, And if you hear some air noise, I did get an air conditioner put in the back, so we're still working on that. But I got a 5-ton unit for this shop, so no more sweating and working out here in 95-degree weather, so I'm pretty pumped about that. So if you hear that running, I apologize, but I'm not cutting it off because it's super hot out here. I did get a package from BJ's Off-Road, and I'll show you exactly what I got. All right. Most importantly, they sent a sticker. Thanks, BJ's. So what I got was I got a new dimmer switch for the floor. I got the neutral safety backup switch. I got a new headlight switch. And then I got, there's a wiper switch, should be. Yeah, the wiper switch right here. And then I got all the new pieces to go in. And then that is the brake light switch. So I'm not using any of these crappy switches that came in the Jeep. I tested them, they still work, so I'm not going to get rid of them, but you can see it's got some corrosion in there. And like I said, I just wanted to replace everything from pretty much 1979 in this Jeep. I've got a mess right now, of course, still, but like I said, doing it wire by wire, that's how I'm figuring everything out. So first off, I'm going to start unwrapping these and try to get them in. Alright, so I've got the dimmer switch that runs to the new bright light switch that goes in the floor. I've already got it plugged in, and so now I've just got to put the wire ends on and push them in. So like this one right here, this is the headlight power, and it goes to this slot right here, and we'll get that put in, and I'll show you how I'm doing that. And I tried using heat shrink on it, but the heat shrink just gets pulled back because it's going in the plug. I should have known better than that, but anyway, I'm going to be cutting all these down to the same length. Just like that. And I've got it marked where it's going in. It goes in this way there. So what I'm doing is I'm bench testing all of my switches, and just making sure that my headlights do come on. And I don't have any headlights in, but I am getting power to the headlights from my old switch. I can't get this new switch to work. I don't know, I've got to do some more tests on it. I've tried my voltmeter on it. I can't get it to work with the voltmeter, but the old one works just fine. I don't know. I may have to call BJ's tomorrow and see what is going on there, but it's really weird. Like I said, the old one works, the headlights come on, or I get power to the headlights with the old switch, but not the new switch. So I moved on to the brake switch, and I did pull the old connector. See if I can get it to focus. I did pull the old connector off of my old wiring harness. I kept all those, and from this universal wiring kit, it comes with pretty much the brake power, and then the power switch wire goes right here. And then I actually tested it, and I do get power to the rear brake lights, so that's pretty cool. So what I did is I just put a shroud around it. That's kind of like I said, once I get everything working, I just put a shroud around it. That way I know that it's tested and it's good to go. So what I'm going to do now is get this brake switch in, because that'll just be one less thing in the way. So with these brake switches, you do have some adjustments on there, which is pretty cool. But so how it works is pretty much typically any older vehicle, this is pushed in, this button is pushed in until you push the brake pedal, then it releases, and then it creates contact between these 2 points right here, and your taillights come on. So it's pretty cool how it works. I can get you in there, and it goes right there. So I'm just going to screw that in and then plug it up, and that'll be one thing checked off the list for this wiring. got that clicked on. So now I'm going to test the rear brake lights. Alright, so I have the switch installed, I have the wiring harness installed, and I also have my wire tester, or my light tester connected to the wire that goes to the rear tail light. This should light up whenever I hit the brake pedal. Aha! I have a terrible ground. Hold on. Alright. There we go. Brake lights work. Whew. Okay. Alright. On to the next thing. Alright guys, got a little shop update for you. I obviously have been working very hard on this, trying to get it nice and neat. You can tell there is a huge difference. I still have a long way to go. So the method to my madness on this wiring was before I would tuck it up and put a wire loom on it, I would test it to make sure that it worked. And so far everything is working. I'm waiting on another switch from BJ's Off-Road. I guess I ordered the wrong one. It was for a 79 Cherokee, and I guess the switch that I need is for a 78 and older, so still waiting on that. But so like I said, what I did was when I was tucking all these wires in, before I put them in the wire loom and before I tucked them up, I just tested it to make sure that they worked. I am still working on getting all these straight and tucked away properly, but you can see I did mount my fuse box back there. And then the wires that run across up here, I do have to run them right here because my wiper assembly, I don't know if you can see it back there, but that's going to be moving back and forth, so you definitely don't want any wires near that. So I'm having to keep everything towards the front of the dash, which is a little frustrating, but it'll be alright. So like these right here, I've got to finish putting these in a wire loom. That's the wire. This is the wire to the radio, so I've got to reroute that. I still have work to do, but this will definitely help me sleep better at night. There's no more rainbow spaghetti in here. Well, there's not that much rainbow spaghetti. So here is with the dash, or the instrument panel in. And man, this is coming together nicely. I've made a complete wiring mess in my shop, but that's wiring, I guess. I have another package come in from BJ's Off-Road. They do have a Headlight wiring harness with the relays and everything. So I've got my power strip right here. I've got the positive for the headlight relay here, and then I've got the plug just sitting in, and then all I did was just wire it to my low beam and high beam wire coming off of the switch in the floor. And I spliced it in right there, and it plugs right into the back of the headlight. And now we're about to test it. Whenever I turn the headlights on, they should come on. And that looks like the low beam. Now I'll click the high beams. Aha! Sweet. So we are definitely getting somewhere. I am super excited. And these right here are the turn signals. Let's see, that's the left front signal, and that one is the horn. Alright, so I gotta get a horn. But anyway, definitely figuring this out one wire at a time. Alright, another quick update for you. So I did get a dimmer switch from Dakota Digital, and I installed that right here. And what I did was I took an extra wire. Still waiting for the new switch to come in, but I took one of the parking light wires and I ran it up to the back of the Dakota Digital gauge system, the control box, And what that does is whenever you turn on the headlights, it automatically dims the instrument cluster. So let me show you what I got. So turn the key on, and you can also dim it like this during the day, just like this. Wow. And then turn the headlight on, and it's dimmer. Haha! Sick! We're getting somewhere. Let there be light. But guys, that's probably gonna wrap up this video. I really appreciate y'all watching. I'm not gonna bore you when I'm tidying up all this wiring and stuff like that, but I really appreciate y'all watching. I definitely have a lot more work to do, so stay tuned for that, and we will see you on the next one.